This is part 6 of my guide to filling in the SEND Reform Consultation. We're doing questions 11 to 14, and question 11 is about national inclusion standards. What are those, I hear you ask, because they don't explain any of that in the form. So let's go and look at what the document says. So the idea of these national inclusion standards, that they are doing research to provide an evidence base, and they will create a digital library of high quality identification tools and provision across the 0 to 25 system, covering all layers of support. And it says, making clear what good ordinarily provision should be in every setting. You get what they mean. It will be the go-to place for educators to understand the latest evidence-based approaches to universal whole setting strategies, targeted interventions, and identifying and responding to barriers to learning. They will develop and roll out approaches for early identification, strengths and needs assessment, and support that can be used in educating settings by 2028. We will also engage with children and young people and their families to ensure the standards reflect how they experience the learning environment. So what should the top 3 priority areas be? You tell me what you think, because there are so many priority areas, so many things that need to align properly for this to be impactful. While I always value research and evidence, very, very important, we also have to remember that sometimes the best evidence comes from the child, how they respond to things, how they don't respond to things that other children respond to, because they are all individuals, and that's what our system allows for currently. So my concern really is the idea that this standardised evidence-based approach will leave some children behind, and what will happen to them. Next is, what are the most important issues for the new national training to cover to help support children and young people with SEND? They are investing £200 million into a new training package for all staff across schools, early years, post-16 settings, including support staff, not just teachers. £200 million over 3 years, that's about £66 million per year. There's over 1 million staff, right? So not a lot of money per year. This says correctly that many teachers don't have the confidence, the skills, or the expertise they need to support children with SEND, and they'll be launching a landmark training package on inclusion. It will be supported by government-backed training materials developed with experts. At every phase, staff will be supported to engage with parents, develop skills in building inclusive learning environments and spotting needs early, always a good thing. For early years, there'll be extra training on child development and practical strategies. For school staff, training will focus on adaptive teaching and creating calm classrooms. And for further education, best practice in ensuring learning is accessible for all. Again, none of these are bad things, right? More training is always good. But most important issues for national training to cover, I think, is the wrong question. The question is, what can we achieve within this budget and this training that will support as many children as possible? And I think the only answer to that really is understanding from teachers what are the highest incidence of things that they see, what would help them in the classroom actually support those children better. I think some of this training needs to be around general awareness of various forms of disability, how it impacts people, how it might present, a change in culture, certainly. The majority of teachers I speak to really want to support children with SEND in their setting, but there are still some incorrect beliefs, misunderstandings around how some conditions work, and I think it would be helpful to address that. But really, what teachers need to know is, what can I do practically and realistically, and what requires outside input? Next 2 questions are really for educators more than parents. If you're a parent watching this, you might have some thoughts anyway, or you can just leave it blank. I have asked teachers to respond to this and the next question to let me know what they think, so that I can share it with you, and if I get some useful responses, I will do that. But this one is about the practical action that could help teachers, educators and leaders manage workload whilst implementing these changes. That's going to be a tough question, I think. Next, how should the SENCo role evolve to better meet the needs of children and young people with SEND? Again, I think this is the wrong question. The question is, how should the role evolve to better support SENCos to be able to meet the needs of children and young people with SEND? Their job is impossible. What it says in the document is that they believe the SENCo role currently includes excessive bureaucracy and administrative burdens, and that in future the role will be more strategic and less administrative. However, they are asking schools to create an individual support plan. Legally, they must create one for every child with SEND in their school. Who is going to do that? Probably SENCos, right? Probably they will at least have a large part in putting those together. That is a massive amount of work. It's certainly very administrative, and it certainly seems like it could be quite bureaucratic, given that, we have these new layers of support, and who would qualify for this and who would qualify for that, and various things that would make it more bureaucratic, I would say, than it already is. So how can we support SENCos? More of them, more capacity, more time, better training. So I think this is really questions for the professionals. But you might have some ideas and maybe want to offer some support to school staff in your answers. You may see what a great job your teachers, SENCos, support staff are doing in supporting your child in impossible situations and how their hands are tied by things. And hearing that from you, as well as hearing it from the staff, would be helpful for the government. I think they need to know that we are not divided on opposite sides. We all want the same thing. We want children to thrive, and we want teachers to enjoy their jobs and get out of it the reason that they went into it in the first place. We need to make sure that's what happens. But anyway, these are questions you may not have specific answers for. The next questions we'll come to are on individual support plans. That is going to be a big one. So stay tuned. I will share it as soon as I can. Do follow along so you see notifications when I post them. If there are specific questions that you have, let me know in the comments and I will try and answer them.